There's a strong ancestral presence coming through with this Five of Cups. And for some of you, it feels like your ancestors are testing this person before allowing them to progress forward towards you any more than they already have. This is an energy that definitely speaks to your ancestors being very protective over you, maybe as kind of the chosen one, the generational curse breaker, or you're just the one that has like the strongest connection. You keep that alive, different traditions that you adhere to, you keep people's memories very accurately and very beautifully. That has caused your kind of like ancestral line on both sides, the people that you knew in life, that you know the names of, as well as people that are a little more distant within the lineage, that nevertheless are energies that surround you. These consciousnesses, it feels like, again, are very protective over you, where at this phase in your journey, they are not letting as many lessons kind of like slip through the cracks as had previously. You've gone through enough kind of like learning through struggle, learning things the hard way, learning through challenges, a time period where maybe you had to develop character or, needed to make bad choices as far as romance or other things in life were concerned in order to really align with a proper path. For some of you, you've gone through an awakening. You're aligned with kind of a higher purpose. And with that comes not only like spirit guides protecting you, angels protecting you, but in this case, it's like your ancestors are fiercely protective over you. Along the lines of this kind of like purpose filled life, you are supposed to have love and partnership. But now, at this phase in your journey, and especially as far as this person is concerned, that you're resonating with, somebody it feels like that has a lot of interest in you, but they've been a bit hesitant about expressing that fully. And it's because they can like perceive or feel, and for it'll be different for everybody. Some it's just kind of like an instinct. Others you may be dealing with someone who's a little more sensitive, a little more psychic, and so they're picking up on things, especially if they knew some of your passed on loved ones, where it's like, yo, this person is coming through to me in dreams. Oh my gosh, I feel the presence of this. I know an ancestor when I sense one, and this is not part of my spirit team, so this must be from you, where your ancestors are really trying to make sure that anyone that gets in close to you, as far as romance is concerned, yes, you have the ability to choose who you are dating, who you are in connection with, who you are going to marry. But there is a sense that at this point in your journey, your ancestors are doing a lot of the vetting process for you to make sure that whoever it is that kind of is gaining access to some up close and personal time with you, that they don't easily get spooked, that they don't get scared by this level of protection that surrounds you, because you're not supposed to be with a romantic partner that interferes in any sort of way with like a higher calling or some kind of purpose you're aligned with. Love, like a loving relationship, is supposed to enhance that. And in order to ensure that happens, not just through your kind of like conscious exercising of discernment, listening to your instincts and intuition, making people sort of prove through actions that their words have meaning. Your ancestors are also kind of doubling down on their efforts with this person, and, even just in general for you to keep in mind in terms of like romance from this point forward in your life. They got to get through your ancestors. They got to get that seal of approval before they're going to even be able to kind of like energetically sustain time in your presence. Your ancestors don't want someone, coming in and getting freaked out about sort of the presence of these almost, like spirit beings, other dimensional beings, and kind of like throwing down Bible verses, trying to rebuke family members. They're not playing that. They don't want any of that. You need somebody that, even if they don't fully kind of like understand or resonate with your relationship with your ancestors, if that's not something they're really like tapped into or dialed into, like in a spiritual way, or even in terms of like their level of perception and consciousness, your ancestors want to make sure that you are not kind of having to deal with or fend off, even just energetically kind of protect yourself from anyone that would compromise that very necessary layer, not just of protection, but it feels like you have a lot of conscious contact with your ancestors. They are a crucial part of your spiritual team moving forward in your life in order to stay on track with your purpose, in order to kind of experience the full benefits and opportunities, and also navigate different challenges that you will face through the ups and downs in life that just naturally happen in the human experience moving forward after everything that you've been through. The kind of incentive for surviving and thriving through everything that you've been through is a stronger way in which to connect with and not even have to like ask these ancestors to have your back. They're just doing that. And so as far as this person is concerned, this romantic potential, this is definitely something where it's kind of like, before you think that you can come in close, you got to get through us. So on some sort of level, there's something going on that this person is like aware of. And this reading isn't going to resonate with everyone, because a lot of you are not, aligning with spiritually based connections. You yourselves are not aligned with any kind of like purpose or pathway. You're just looking for a general love reading. This might not be the reading for you. But for those of you where this kind of vibe fits, definitely understand that part of this person that you're dealing with, like a slower approach to you, it's because they can only move so fast going through these series of almost just like steps that they take. Like they take a step forward and then they have to sit in the midst of being shown something by your ancestors. They have to sort of endure the tests and challenges of like, are your nerves steady? Do you scare easily? How open are you? How perceptive are you? How psychic are you? What sort of energy and experience do you contribute to this person, to their loved one, to you, the viewer's life? Because at this point in time, it's like your ancestors have had it. You've been through enough nonsense. You've been through enough karmic partners. You've been through enough lessons. And if love is going to be part of your experience moving forward, your ancestors are very fiercely insistent that it be somebody that is at a minimum on like the same vibration level as you, or kind of able to be flexible enough where whatever that sort of experience looks like as you're navigating your own journey and in accordance with kind of your relationship, maybe something you're developing or what is a strengthening and ongoing relationship with your ancestors, they're not going to allow just anyone, like just any romantic person, to kind of like come in and disrupt that, distract you from that, or hinder that in any sort of way by bringing forth, the energy even of like fear held inside, which would kind of clog the channel or serve as a distraction in some sort of ways. You might be very sensitive and psychic and picking up on that. We also have the Eight of Cups. So with this card, this isn't giving the energy of somebody that's like walking away. It's like with this guy kind of just like standing over here to the side. It's like your ancestors are like, hey dude, just like wait over here. You need to wait through this process of, yeah, you got these feelings. Yeah, you got this interest. You want to rush forward. You want to have this whole experience. But in order to get in close with this person, you got to come through us. And this is not the type of experience where your ancestors are trying to like push anyone away, but it's just kind of like making it known that a higher level experience is necessary. Again, there can't be a lot of fear held within the heart. There has to be a certain amount of open-mindedness, or even something that, resonates or aligns with this person's experience. Maybe they have a strong relationship with their ancestors. Maybe it's something where the two of you are more similar in that capacity, although you may approach it from different angles than you realize at this point. And so this can even be a process of like your ancestors making their presence known to this person, just to kind of like make sure that when they let that sort of energetic force field down a little bit, when it becomes a little bit malleable and this person is able to step in closer, that it's not the kind of thing that they're going to like disrupt your frequency. And as well, that you can contribute if this is somebody that has that strong relationship with their ancestors, is aligned with some kind of higher purpose, higher calling, to make sure that you're both like a good vibrational fit for one another moving forward. So it's a process of being like tuned, and an awareness, it feels like, that is being brought to this person's attention, maybe even in ways you for them, about the sense of like, hey, this individual might be alone, might be single, you're taking interest in them for that reason, but they don't walk alone. They walk with us. They walk with an extensive spirit team. And if you're cool with that, then come on in. We also have the Three of Swords. Yeah, so a lot of you have really been through some tough times. You've been through some shit. Things that a lot of people would have just kind of broken down, cried, become embittered, shut down, never recovered from. Maybe you've had some really like wild things happen where it's kind of like, how did you survive that? How did you come out intact? How are you still smiling? Trials and tribulations, big or small, that you've been through. Your ancestors have been there with you the whole time. A lot of the challenges that you have faced in life and in love. You have not only up-leveled yourself, but in certain sorts of ways, it feels like you've activated these parts of your lineage, both the people that you remember, people you had experiences with or that you've heard of, and also people that are like further out on those trees or the branching of those trees who stand beside you, who see you as somebody that is doing something different from others. You're different than the status quo. Even if like your life looks very similar to like other relatives, other family members, there's something about the light inside of you, the drive inside of you, the human spirit, the way in which the perfect recipe and the unique recipe of you has manifested in the human form. You have caught the attention of like many ancestors who see you as somebody that can kind of like bring the whole lineage forward, or maybe even just bring yourself forward. If you're one of those type of people where like family relationships are strained, you've had to cut people off, or you yourself have been outcast from your family, then again, you're not walking alone. You've got this very powerful, energetic force of your ancestry that walks beside you. And so this is definitely the kind of loving, empowered, and protective energy where these individuals, these disembodied spirits, these passed over, people are having a huge interest in making sure that life gets easier for you moving forward. You got a lot of the hard stuff out of the way early on, or you've been through some things that they really feel like you deserve a break. You deserve, beautiful things to happen. You shouldn't have to struggle so much, or what you've been through, what you've overcome, even if it was just like devastating heartbreak, and you didn't sort of use that as an experience to embitter you or to shut down, but it's like you're still hopeful, you're still working on yourself, you're still optimistic of like, I know love is out there for me. My experience up to this point in time has shown the opposite, but like I still believe. This is something it feels like that has caught the attention of your ancestors, that are definitely not just cheering you on, but helping to kind of move you forward, empower you, strengthen you, be that kind of support system in the times where you feel like it's a struggle to sort of maintain that posture, maintain that perspective. If you're aligned with a higher purpose, you could be that chosen one within your lineage, then again, that definitely comes with the perks and benefits of it's not just on your faith alone. It's not just your kind of like instinct that you're drawn to something more. You're here for a very specific reason. It comes with this whole entourage, with this whole army or series of armies of ancestors. People that are very gentle and kind, people that are very brutal and ruthless. All of these people have the same vested interest to make sure that you reach your goal safely, effectively, efficiently. And for a lot of you, that goal also involves romance. So this part of like vetting process might even be some of these ancestors serving as matchmaker, trying to align you with that like right partner, because you're not just supposed to sort of accomplish some sort of purpose, great things or little things in this life. You're also supposed to experience love. After everything you've been through, you deserve love. You get love. And their methods may be a little unorthodox in terms of playing matchmaker. It feels like at this particular point in time, it involves sort of like making their presence known to your person of interest, or in some sort of way serving as that kind of like energetic barrier around you at this time, where this person may be like, I want to rush forth, but I kind of like find myself stuck in place. I want to rush forth, and then something happens and I find myself looking in the mirror and questioning if I'm good enough. A lot of that is motivated by this person's interest in kind of like providing you with a high quality experience. A lot of it is this person kind of picking up on, the silent and yet very obvious signals that your ancestors are giving, that if they want to approach, if they want to come in close, they better come correct. Otherwise, just kind of stay on the outskirts or move on in the other direction. Yeah, we also have the Three of Pentacles. So it feels like with this person, if this reading is resonating with you, this person is doing a great job of passing the tests that these ancestors may be putting in place. And some of these ancestors, they may even be just like, kind of trickster, practical joker kind of energy. And it's sort of like, okay, are you going to get scared by, the little bump in the night? Are you going to get freaked out by the synchronicities? Are you going to be somebody that can kind of just like go along with that, or maybe be curious and question things? Maybe you walk a very particular spiritual path, and so it has to involve like a romantic partner that either is aligned with the same things or is open-minded enough that they're not going to stand in the way of that. They're not going to sow seeds of doubt or fear into the momentum you have going. They're not going to have such conflicting views, beliefs, ideas, and practices that it creates almost like a blockade for you and for them living your lives to the fullest. And so these ancestors are kind of like thinking of different sorts of ways. It's almost sort of like, in more kind of traditional practices or like Western beliefs, when a man, typically wants to like marry a woman, and he'll ask for her father's blessing, like, can I marry your daughter? It's that kind of a thing. Only this person, it feels like, hasn't sought these ancestors out to like ask them. The ancestors are like, no, we'll come to you, or you'll encounter us as you're trying to like make these moves forward. As you've got your sights set on this individual, you're going to have to know that he or she, you the viewer, are a package deal. Yeah, you're the person with free will. You're the one who ultimately decides who you choose, who you're attracted to, who's bringing like the most highest quality experience to the table. But there's also this sort of added component of these layers of ancestors, spirit guides, angels, that are very thick around you, that walk very closely with you, that aren't just going to sit there as silent observers and like, oh, you have to pray to us or ask us or invoke us to intercede on your behalf. No, these energies are just like, we'll just take care of that. We will ensure that it is only somebody, that kind of has the right vibe, the right energy, the right intentions, that gets up close and personal enough where then you're able to use your free will to decide, do I like what this person has to offer? And if yes, proceed forward. If no, they can step aside. We will also help to sort of remove them if that becomes a problem. So whoever you are, whatever you have like gone through in your life, wherever you're at right now in your journey and wherever you're headed, your ancestors do not play around about you. This is something where if love has been kind of like a tricky subject for you, it's been difficult, please do not doubt or question even for a second that like even people that, were in human form long before you existed, they have such profound love and admiration, respect for you. It's like pooling everybody's resources right to, this spot, this time, here and now, because whatever it is that you're doing, whatever vibe you're on, whatever kick you're on, whatever sort of way in which you're living your life, maybe this is even like your internal mindset or how that reflects in your external reality, you are that answered prayer for many. And they're not just sitting silently in the bleachers kind of cheering you on. These are, energies. These are consciousnesses. These are people who will not hesitate to sort of step forth and to be of assistance, in the form of that kind of like energetic buffer that it feels like will also benefit whoever you choose for long-term partnership, or choose to marry. It'll benefit them as well, because it's like they're brought into this sort of fold of this very like tight ancestral network, that may be something that's very different from their own experience, or for some of you, this is something very similar to what their own experiences, their own tradition, their own upbringing has kind of emphasized. So it feels like this is a time of bonding, but instead of like you and this person bonding further, it's your ancestors and this person kind of like getting to know one another in a subtle way, in a way, that maybe just, again, like energetically speaking, how open, how receptive, how obedient are they to the times where it's like, yeah, you can proceed forward, or, no, you're kind of like stopped in place and forced to self-reflect. For other people, this is something though where this person is like, I do understand that you have like spiritual presences around you. You've got the spirits of the deceased, you've got your ancestors, in addition to angels and other spirit guides that, cloak you, that are like a halo around you that are sort of an addition to your energy. They're starting to become familiar with that, or they perceive that on some sort of conscious level. And so they're coming to the understanding that it's like, yeah, it's a relationship between you and them, but it's also something where it's kind of like they got to keep in mind, maintaining sort of the contentment, or rather not displeasing these kind of like other energies that surround you, because you're not at a point in your life journey, it feels like, where you are sort of due to learn any more lessons as far as romance. You've been through the ringer enough. If love is going to happen, if this connection is going to develop further, then it feels like, just where you are on your soul path, and as far as these ancestors are concerned, this is going to be a high quality experience. Otherwise, it's something that, that person can keep walking, and maybe somebody else comes along that will sort of get through these gatekeepers who love you very profoundly, have your best interests in mind. And it feels like also would be very excited for anyone that is able to sort of rise to the occasion, go through these challenges, jump through these little hoops, which might not even be that serious. It could even just be something that's like, how do you feel about ghosts? How do you feel about the presence of like ancestors around someone? Are you cool with that? Are you open-minded with that? Is that something where you can just go with the flow, or maybe are so oblivious to it that it's not even a factor? What does that look like? That may be the most that this kind of like testing involves. And so whatever that is, definitely understand that your ancestors have kind of like caused this person to sort of slow their steps towards you for a very particular reason. Love at this point in your life is not supposed to create unnecessary distractions, heartache, disruption. You got big things to do, or you've already come through so much that love at this point in your life and moving forward, it is supposed to be a blessing. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.